Hi, welcome to another episode of Bethany Talks About Stuff. I'm your host, Bethany F. DeVores, author of the Sea Adrasine Chronicles, available from Amazon. And today I'm trying something a little bit different. A lot has happened since my last video, and I've released a couple of shorts saying I'm going to talk about this. I recorded the videos, but I didn't release them. What I'm going to start doing, and we'll see how this goes, is I'm going to do once a week a kind of long form video of here's stuff that happened in the geek world that I noticed, and here's my thoughts on it. And then I will take that long video and break it into smaller pieces for your viewing consumption if you'd like to look at just that particular topic. I have a few things to talk about. One, of course, is going to be Henry Cavill, because I said I had a video about that. I actually did record a video about Henry Cavill and James Gunn. I am going to talk about that. But there are a few other things that have been going on that I have found interesting. And frankly, I tried to keep a running log of what I wanted to talk about. And so many things happened this week in the geek world. They just couldn't really keep up. So I'm just going to talk about what I remember. If I remember something later and decide to do a separate video, whatever. It'll come. So let's talk about first things first. Now, y'all know I've mentioned this before. If you know me in real life, you already know this. I have two celebrity boyfriends. One is Chris Hemsworth, particularly as Thor, although Marvel has basically ruined Thor for me now, but that's another video. We're not talking about that today. And my other celebrity boyfriend is Henry Cavill. Y'all know I love Henry Cavill. I've done several videos about all the debacle of stuff that's been going on with Henry Cavill in the last few months. But I do just love him. He's like the king of the nerds.
Hail to the king, baby. And
so I notice when things pop up. And frankly, all of my social media recommends a gazillion Henry Cavill pages for me. Like, I couldn't get away from Henry Cavill if I wanted to at this point. And who would want to? Anyway, so the last video, I think we talked about how suddenly he wasn't going to be Superman anymore. Oh, so stupid.
Stupid! You're so stupid!
So this kind of ties in with something else I'm going to talk about. But first, I want to talk about the fact that I saw a couple of articles recently. The clickbait headline was something like, Henry Cavill loses another role to a Hemsworth brother. Okay, so let's set the record straight. I read the article and I'm like, that's such clickbait and it's not accurate. Henry Cavill left The Witcher because of creative differences. We've talked about this. I've mentioned it before. The people in charge of the show don't actually like the source material. He did. One of the writers that actually liked the source material became friends with him and then they got him fired. It was gross, right? I wouldn't want to work there. I had to think about how toxic of an environment it must have been to work someplace that you're supposed to be representing something that you truly love, IP you truly love, and the people not only haven't done a good job of representing it, they actively dislike it. And then get your friend fired. And then try to tell the world how awful you are. When really they're the bad people. So he left The Witcher. And Liam Hemsworth is slated to take over starting with season 4. I would be shocked if The Witcher makes it to season 4, but okay. Season 3 is going to be the last one with Henry Cavill. I had initially said I was going to watch that and at least watch that last season, but knowing now what I know, it's unlikely. And I hate that because I like Henry Cavill and he put in a lot of work into season 3, I'm sure. But knowing that behind the scenes, he was probably fighting every day to try to keep the show accurate, or at least the spirit of the show accurate to the source material, it just kind of makes me sad. I think it would be super distracting. I'm not sure I could enjoy it. And it's really a shame because they had good actors. They had good source material to draw from. But once again, very much like other IPs I won't mention right now because I'll just get mad again. They screwed it up. Not a shocker.
Inconceivable.
That's fact number one. Liam Hemsworth didn't steal that role away from Henry Cavill. He left the show. The role opened up. Liam Hemsworth stepped in. No hate on Liam Hemsworth. Do your thing, man. So what the article was actually about was the fact that, it's been in the wind for a long time that they were going to reboot the Highlander franchise, which of course makes me super nervous because every time the powers that be reboot a franchise I love, they have destroyed my childhood with it.
Are you crying?
No. Yes.
And even my adulthood, they've just ruined it. They've ruined it. But anyway, they've been talking about rebooting it. When they first started talking about it, they said Henry Cavill was being considered for the main role. Now, that gave me some hope because I like Henry Cavill, and seeing Henry Cavill in a kilt would not make me sad. What this article said, though, was that they are now considering Chris Hemsworth for that role instead of Henry Cavill. And now I'm very torn because I would also like to see Chris Hemsworth in a kilt. Not going to lie about that. I don't have as strong of feelings about this because that role was never promised to Henry Cavill, at least as far as I could tell. There were talks. That is normal. I mean, we all know that. You find out years later, oh, such and such and such and such and such and such were being considered for a role that is now iconic for whoever. Viggo Mortensen was not the original casting for Aragorn, but now we could not see anybody but Viggo Mortensen. Also, Hugh Jackman is Wolverine. If I'm remembering right, the guy who played the prince in Ever After, and his name is escaping me right now. If I'm remembering correctly, he was actually supposed to be Wolverine. Could you even imagine him? I'm sure he would have done a good job. But in retrospect now, I'm like, I can't even imagine that because Hugh Jackman has done such a great job. But this is not unusual, right? When things aren't firm, they're not locked in. It's not unusual for multiple actors, iconic actors, to be considered for a part. So this didn't bother me. Hey, in my opinion, Henry Cavill, Chris Hemsworth, it's a win either way. Kilt on either one, both preferable. I'm all right. I'm just saying. They could just wear kilts. I mean, why they don't need a movie? Just put on a kilt.
Do it!
My next topic. The DC Universe and James Gunn. So, James Gunn has taken over the DC Universe, right? Media, like the movies, TV, all that. And that's fine. They actually are just way too late on this. Kevin Feige heading up everything at Marvel and them having an end game, so to speak, was brilliant. And I think most of us will admit, not everybody, some people were diehard Marvel comic book fans and felt like the characters were treated poorly, but most of us would agree that phases 1 through 3 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe were amazing. They were amazing. I literally, the day the tickets would go on sale, I would be buying them as soon as they went on sale so I could reserve the seats I wanted and make sure I got in on opening night on Thursday night. So I totally loved that. Part of the reason that was so successful is there was overarching tie-in and somebody was heading it. So it wasn't just willy-nilly, everybody trying to figure out what they wanted to do. People had some guardrails for what they could do because their individual solo movies had to fit into the bigger universe that was going to come together in Infinity War and Endgame. That was brilliant, actually. So I think DC is like, okay, we're a day late, a dollar short, but let's try this too. And they brought on James Gunn. Okay, fair enough. I can understand giving this a try. My problem is multi-layered. Okay. One is James Gunn is backtracking or backpedaling on this thing with Henry Cavill and Superman. And he's tried to say, I didn't promise Superman to Henry Cavill. Other people did, and they shouldn't have done that because I never intended to use him. I don't actually believe that. I believe what happened was he didn't realize how much backlash there was going to be. And it was so bad that he felt like the entire universe that he was trying to create was in jeopardy. So he had to backpedal it somehow. And the way to do that was to make it sound like, oh, somebody else did that. It wasn't me. I don't know why they told him that. And I'm like, I feel like you probably just did and then changed your mind, and I don't know. I just think it all is pretty skanky. Christopher Reeve, Henry Cavill, everybody else. Christopher Reeve is dead. God rest his soul. Henry Cavill is not. I'm just saying, this is the order it should be. I said in a video before all this went down that if they ever made Henry Cavill not Superman, they would probably not be able to get me back. And then they chose to not only not retain Henry Cavill as Superman, but do it in a really disgusting way. So, no, I'm not going to be watching James Gunn's DC universe. Plus, DC's got a big problem on their hands. I mean, let's be honest. He wants to reboot the entire universe. That means animated series, TV series, movies, all those actors, most of them out. No more Dwayne Johnson as Black Adam. No more Henry Cavill as Superman. No more Ben Affleck as Batman, which, by the way, I actually thought he did a good job. I'm not a huge fan of him in real life, but kudos where it's due. I was one of 4 people who thought when that was announced that Ben Affleck would actually do a good job as Batman. And I think he did. But that's beside the point. So they've got a problem on their hands, though, because they're doing that. But at the same time, they still have The Flash, Shazam, Aquaman 2. Like, these are already coming out. They're obligated to them. But they're part of a universe that's not going to continue. So they, number one, have to release these. And then if they do really well, then they've got an even bigger problem on their hand. But they don't want them to fail because that's money out of their pockets. But also, they've got, you guys kept, Ezra Miller. I mean, with all the... You can pretend like it's not a thing or that it's justified. But with all the cancel culture, Ezra Miller still has a movie? But he seems like a pretty horrible person, even if you just look at that raw footage of him hitting that fan in the store. I'm like, and it just gets worse. The allegations are horrific and they're pretty substantial. So you're going to keep that nut job and not keep Henry Cavill. Sure, this is a good decision. It's a good decision. It's not going to bite you in the butt at all. Never. It's good.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for them.
Morons. Anyway, so it's not good. So there was, I guess, a big foosball game recently.
Foosball? You playing the foosball behind my back?
And the Flash trailer dropped during all those commercials. I didn't watch it during the foosball game because I'm just not a big sports person. More power to you if you are. Doesn't bother me. I just don't care. It's not my deal. So I watched it the next day. And if I didn't know all this other stuff, if I didn't know Ezra Miller was a horrible human being, if I didn't know how they treated Henry Cavill, if I didn't know that this version of the universe wasn't ending, I would probably be at least somewhat excited for this movie. I would probably go see it. But I have significant problems with this. Ezra Miller is a human piece of excrement. This version of the universe is ending. They treated Henry Cavill like crap. Do you see where I'm going? I can't tune that out. So I'm not going to be able to enjoy this. But there's also something else that I found interesting. And that is basically, this is DC's version of Spider-Man No Way Home. I mean, I don't know how you can not see that. Spider-Man No Way Home brought back all these iconic characters and the actors that played them in previous iterations of that character. And frankly, I really liked it. I liked No Way Home, except for the ending. And that's another whole story. But I didn't like the ending. And I felt like it was obvious that they're just looking to pass the mantle from Peter Parker to somebody else. And I don't like that in general with any character. I think Doctor Who is the only IP that has successfully done that, at least up until recently. But that's another whole video. We won't get into that. But so I liked Spider-Man No Way Home, except for that. I know it was full of member berries. But I liked them, you know. But now I'm watching the trailer for The Flash and going, they're doing the exact same thing in the hopes of getting people super excited. And in a way, it's just sad. The Spider-Man movies have been the only post-Endgame movies I've enjoyed. And that's saying something. That's it. So seeing the Flash trailer, seeing them do basically the same things, it was almost embarrassing for them. I don't know. But Hollywood does this sometimes. Y'all remember, like, some of you viewers may be too young for this, but when Armageddon came out, you also had Deep Impact. And they basically were the same story. Like, there was an asteroid headed to Earth. It's going to destroy the planet. So they send astronauts up to try to destroy the asteroid so the planet can survive. Now, there were different takes on it, but that's basically the storyline of both those movies. And I think they came out like the same year. And even then I was like, that's the same movie. Like, I saw them both. They had their own strengths. But the point is, it's not that unusual. But both, in any case, I always think it's super lazy. There's nothing new under the sun. That's just reality. You can write a story. Somebody's written a similar story. That's just life. But what you do is bring your own take to it, right? But in this case, it feels like pretty much a blatant ripoff. Like, hey, Phase 4 hasn't done well for Marvel. But the one thing that did well was No Way Home. So maybe we can do that for the DC universe with this Flash movie. I don't know how long that'd been in the works, but it just feels like a very cheap ploy. And that universe is dying. So it's a huge waste, in my opinion, to spend the effort and resources to bring Michael Keaton back as Batman for a dying universe. And even I, as jaded and cynical as I am when I saw Michael Keaton say, "I'm Batman."
I'm Batman.
I was like, oh, it's awesome. Michael Keaton was an awesome Batman. I enjoyed him as Batman. But, you know, they got to give it a try, I guess. So that's all kind of, it's not good. It's not good. They got a real problem. I don't know if they can recover. There's my take on what's going on with DC right now with The Flash and all of that. Next thing I want to talk about is, and I'm only going to briefly touch on this because it's unnecessarily controversial, but Hogwarts Legacy. It's doing really well. And I am so encouraged that gamers and fans have ignored politics, like real world politics, to just enjoy what they enjoyed. You know, as much as I didn't want to watch Rings of Power and I was against just about everything about it, you know, people who watched it enjoyed it. That's fine. That's fine. You like what you like, okay? I have a friend that I told him I couldn't be friends with him anymore because he liked Rings of Power. I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it. We're still friends. We're gaming friends. I'm actually going to talk about him a little bit later in this episode about a different topic. But he told me I liked Rings of Power, and I was like, what? Why? But the point is, you like what you like. And I'm glad to see people out there enjoying that game, ignoring all this nonsense that has nothing to do with the game, and just liking what they like. Even if it's something I don't like, if you like it, you know. And I find that sometimes, even with the content creators that I enjoy, that have very strong opinions about things, every now and then I see them give a really bad review to something, and I'm like, I liked that. You know what? I'm going to continue to like it. Every once in a while, I'll watch somebody talk about something that puts such a new perspective on what I liked before that. I'm like, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't like that. But normally I just go, fine, whatever. I liked it, so I'm going to like it. But Hogwarts Legacy is tearing it up, y'all. People are really liking it, and I'm excited people are liking it. So that's good. I'm not a Harry Potter person, not because I have anything against the Harry Potter IP. I just haven't ever gotten into it. It's actually on my list of things I want to get caught up on, but I'm way, way behind. The to be read pile and the to be watched pile is out of control. And Harry Potter just keeps getting, pushed down and down and down. So, oh well. But anyways, I'm glad people are liking it. I'm glad it's doing well. I'm very encouraged that we can, the more we can learn to agree to disagree on things that don't matter for entertainment, the better off entertainment is going to be, if that makes sense. That does bring me to another entertainment topic that has just made me sad. And that would be Indiana Jones. So the new trailer has been out for a little while. It actually came out, I think, the first week of December. It aired again, or a new trailer aired during the foosball match recently. I don't know. I didn't watch. Okay, but I did watch the trailer that released back in December. And I was actually at a friend's house when I watched this, and we were, I was visiting her for a week on vacation. And so we were watching a lot of movies and stuff. They had their own little home theater in their house, which is super cool. It was awesome. I really enjoyed it. And we watched movies and TV shows and stuff. And we watched Willow, the first 2 episodes of Willow on Disney Plus. And I just, my content creators I watched, they hated it. I didn't hate it, but I didn't really like it. I haven't watched any episodes since the first 2, and I actually meant to watch it so I could review it. I just didn't have strong enough feeling to even watch any more of it. So it was bland. It was disappointing. It wasn't horrible. I expected to hate it more than I did, but I wanted to like it more than I did. That's another whole topic. But Indiana Jones, the trailer dropped while I was up there, and she and I watched it. And there was a quote in there.
And I've come to believe it's not so much what you believe. It's how hard you believe it.
What? What? That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Or at least in the top 5. It doesn't matter what you believe as long as you really believe it. Yes, it matters what you believe. It matters. You guys, it matters. This was just something said to sound really deep that wasn't really deep. In fact, it was really dumb. And I'm I'd like to think Indiana Jones wasn't that dumb. That he wasn't that dumb. I mean, well, Nazis in Nazi Germany really strongly believed that Jewish people should be killed in concentration camps. They believed that really strongly. I guess that was okay, as long as they believed it really strongly. Do you see how stupid that sounds? It is ridiculous. It matters what you believe. Man. After Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, I saw Harrison Ford in an interview saying, no more Indiana Jones. This is it. This really completed this story. Then I think later he got really sentimental. And then I saw him in a new interview 10 years after that. I mean, it was a long time. And I'm would you play Indiana Jones again? He was oh, in a heartbeat. And I'm no, you said you thought that really ended the story. And you know what? It should have. That trilogy was darn near perfect. Leave it. It's okay to leave stuff alone. It's okay for stuff to be concluded. In fact, as of right now, I'm writing book 3 in my series, the Cedrassian Chronicles, available from Amazon. And I actually have plans for 2 more books. But there's part of me that's looking at this and going, should it stop after book 3? I'm really thinking about that. What I want to decide with is the notion, is the story done? Not, can I squeeze more money out of it? Which, I haven't really made a lot of money. Please buy my books. Please buy my books. But that's not the point. The point is the story done? I don't think it is. I actually think books 4 and 5, I actually have a rough draft of book 4 already, and I've started a rough draft of book 5. And I think that those really, I believe in at least book 4. Book 4, I really like. I think you guys will like it. If you liked books 1 and 2, you'll like 3 and 4. Book 5, I'm on the fence about, I'm thinking about. And then I have some ideas for some novellas and short stories to flesh out that world. But the last thing I want to do is just write about Ceadris to write about Ceadris. I want to tell the story that is a coherent and entertaining story, whether that be 5 books or 10 books, as long as the stories make sense, still are entertaining, and aren't a drag. I have a direction for even book 5 in my head. So I feel like Indiana Jones really should have stopped at 3, because Indiana Jones and Last Crusade was probably one of the best action movies of its kind ever. It was really good storytelling, in my opinion. I loved it. The music was great. John Williams at peak, and sometimes I love John Williams, but sometimes John Williams sounds like John Williams sounds like John Williams. Like sometimes I listen to John Williams and I can't tell, is that Star Wars and it turns out to be some other, it starts to run together after a while. But Hook was really good. The music from Hook, the music from Indiana Jones was good. Let's just say I was disappointed. And trailers, I'm the proper audience for a trailer. Like, you can make a trailer for almost anything if you put it to the right music and chop it up the right way. I will get excited for it even if I don't like it. I'm the perfect trailer audience. I like a trailer. And I was disappointed. And that's partly because The Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was terrible. And that was bad enough. I'm not sure we can redeem Indiana Jones. And then after that stupid quote, just why do y'all do this to me? I don't understand. In the video game world, other than Hogwarts Legacy, I also want to talk about a not new game, but new to me, and that is Assassin's Creed Valhalla. So, funny story. I bought my Xbox Series X back in 2020, and it was super hard to get it. I waited online and refreshed the GameStop page every 20 minutes because they said they were going to have some. The only way I could get it was to buy it as a bundle, as the Assassin's Creed Valhalla bundle. So it came with the Xbox. I think it had an extra controller. It had Assassin's Creed Valhalla. It had one other game. I want to say it was a Tom Clancy game. I've not been able to get into a Tom Clancy game, but and then there was like 3 months of an Xbox Game Pass, whatever. I got rid of that a long time ago. It's not my deal. Nothing wrong with it, just not my deal. So I have never played an Assassin's Creed game, and I just assumed you would need to have played the other games to appreciate Valhalla. But I didn't want to get rid of it, so I just threw it in a drawer. I didn't think about it again. Well, a couple of weeks ago, a coworker of mine and I started talking about video games, just kind of random, start chit-chatting. And he was like, well, what new games are you playing? I'm like, I don't know. He's like, well, have you played? I don't know how Assassin's Creed Valhalla came up. I think because he had already started playing it. And I was like, well, I have it, but I haven't started playing it. And I said, I think I haven't played any of the others. So I just assumed I couldn't play this. He's like, no, you don't need to play the others to play this. You should just go play it. You've already got it even. And so I was like, okay, why not? I'm kind of in between games. I'm waiting for the Cyberpunk 2077 expansion to come out. Don't know when that's going to be. So, okay, sure. I'll give it a try. What does it hurt? Okay, I have a couple of things to say about this. Number one, I have lots of hours into it already, which means I liked it, obviously, so far. I'm 67% done with the game according to my Xbox stats, and I've been playing it. The amount of hours I have played it equals over 4 days, which means I haven't really been dealing with real world anything. But it is a good game. The visually, it's stunning. It's beautiful. Norway is incredible. You're playing a Norse Viking from like the medieval times, that period of time. And I knew so little about this game. I mean, nothing except that it was Vikings. That I didn't realize I was going to leave Norway and go to England. I guess everybody else knew that. I did not know. I'm like, what? We're really going to England? What? Norway was gorgeous in the game. England is beautiful. I don't want to talk about, I know it's an older game now. So some spoilers probably wouldn't hurt anything, but I'm still not going to spoil it too much. I'm not going to say too much more about other locations. But visually, it's gorgeous. Now, I'm not done with the game. I'm not going to do a full review. I'm just going to talk a little bit about it here. First of all, I want to say I do actually think it would benefit you to play other Assassin's Creed games before playing this one. There have been a few things that I've been like, what? What is that talk? What? And I had played about 2 hours of the very first Assassin's Creed game, and I just couldn't get into it, and I just abandoned it. So I had this little teeny tiny bit of background. So my friend did send me a couple of YouTube videos, and that helped. Like, because the YouTube videos are like, I think it was all the way up through Odyssey. It's like, here's all the background from the beginning to now. It's very convoluted background. So I'm really confused. Better than I was, but still confused. So, I mean, that's my first critique, is obviously it's not meant to stand alone without at least some knowledge of Assassin's Creed. Having said that, it was worth trying to understand through the videos because it is so far a very good game. I'm really enjoying it. I'm not crazy about games that let you choose your gender, like you can play female Ivor or you can play male Ivor, or you can let the game choose for you depending on what works best for, like this one would say it'll choose for you depending on who would be stronger in which situation, which I find strange. Because I think sometimes the story suffers, but I don't have a huge strong feeling about that. And I didn't mind it so much in Cyberpunk. I liked that in Cyberpunk, it did actually affect some outcomes for you to choose male or female V. And so it made it more interesting to go back and play through again as the opposite gender of what you played the first time, but made it a little more interesting for a second playthrough. I don't see that being the case in this game for romances. The romances don't seem to matter regardless of what gender you picked. So, but I don't know. I mean, I guess it doesn't bother me that much because it's all goofiness to begin with. It's not a political or religious channel, but I am conservative and I am a Christian, so that's going to affect my view of these things. And that's partly why I do this. So if you're somebody who shares those views with me, you get kind of a different take. But I like to think that you don't have to be a conservative Christian to enjoy this channel, and we can agree to disagree about a few things and still get a lot out of, the back and forth. So I didn't care for that, to be honest. And I didn't care for the way Christians are represented. But, in context, there were some historical accuracies for some of that, in complete fairness. It was the reason that Martin Luther started the Reformation. Just saying, if you know your church history. So I feel like there's enough discernment that it's not enough to keep me from playing the game. But it was a little distracting. From time to time, it's a little distracting. My other critique of the game is, it's an M-rated game. So young kids should not be playing it. And there's I could do a whole video separate about how correlation does not equal causation in violence in video games versus violence in real life. There's a lot of research that does not support that causes, that video games cause violence, whatever. That's another whole thing. That being said, there was a cutscene that I've come across with an execution that was so vile that it actually made me sick to my stomach. Like, it was horrifying. And I think it was mainly horrifying because I know that was a real execution method in the medieval times. And it was awful. And I didn't need to see that. At some point, watching that much violence and torture is like, I call it, and I think this term has been used, is torture porn. Like, there's no need for it, and it's over the top and grotesque. And it was a cutscene, and technically you can skip it, but I did need to know what was happening. So the first time I play through, I don't ever skip cutscenes because I want to know the story. I'm playing a campaign. I like story-driven campaigns. I need to know, what's happening in order to fully understand the campaign and play. So I watched it and I was like, this is disgusting. And it just is horrifying to know humans can be so ugly to humans. I know it's not news. It's been this way forever, but I don't need to see it in a video game. It was part of my problem with Cyberpunk Edge Runners, is it was so over the top that, and I could be getting more sensitive to this as I get older, but it was just a lot. Okay. So this particular execution turned my stomach, and I literally turned the game off and thought, I'm not sure I can keep playing this because I can't watch a lot of that and not be really disturbed by it. So far, that's been the only scene like that. I mean, there's been plenty of other violence, don't get me wrong, and pretty awful violence, but that level, so far, that's the only one. So I might do a little research to see if I kind of head it off if I see anything else like that coming. I've asked a couple of friends if they've played this. One of my friends, I asked, hey, has anybody played Assassin's Creed Valhalla? And one of my friends said, yeah, like 2 years ago. I'm like, thanks. Thanks for making me feel bad about being so late to the game. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm still playing it right now. That's been the worst so far, and it has not come back up to that level. And there's still been some crazy stuff. But overall, I am enjoying the game. I'm enjoying the story, even though it is confusing and convoluted. I really like this character. I like the supporting characters in their settlement and their clan. It's been interesting, and y'all, it's just gorgeous. It's just gorgeous. So I will do a complete review once I'm done playing the game. I will finish it, just so if no other reason at this point I can do a full comprehensive review. But I just kind of give you a heads up, my initial thoughts and what I think about I just wanted to give you my initial thoughts about this game so far, and to let you know I will be reviewing it 2 years, going on 3 years later. Always up to date. Anyway, that's basically it. It's been a hectic few weeks. I apologize. This is so delinquent. My real world job, my full-time day job has been soups crazy, and that's partly why I've played so much Assassin's Creed Valhalla, because I've just been like, by the time I get home, my brain is just done. So I apologize this took so long. I'm going to try to do better. I think this format is going to work better. Let me know if you like it in the comments. Let me know your thoughts on any of these topics in the comments. If there's anything you would like to see me cover more of, let me know. And if there's something you thought, well, that was really out of place and I wish you'd stop talking about it, let me know in the comments. I don't promise I'll stop talking about it, but hey, give the feedback anyway, and we'll see. I hope that you enjoyed this. If you did, give me a thumbs up. I would love for you to subscribe to the channel. If you didn't, I hope you'll still watch another episode, because maybe you'll like the next one. In the meantime, that's it for now.